Welcome into the Autzen Audibles Podcast. Matt Prehm, Erik Skopil, Jared Mack on the show. Depending upon when you're listening to this, from our standpoint, it's been a couple hours since Oregon wrapped up fifth spring practice of the year for 2022. We did not get to go into practice to watch what happened. This was a closed off practice, although they did have some recruits on campus. They did have some kids in the community be able to watch a little bit of that at the very end as well. But nonetheless, we spoke with Kenny Dillingham, Oregon's offensive coordinator. We also got a chance to speak with Bo Nix for the first time since his transfer from Auburn to Oregon. We got Thompson and we got Jay Butterfield. It was a quarterback day, and I feel like hearing everything that Dillingham talked about, seeing what Butterfield and what Thompson and Nix said, we learned kind of what this offense could be like, what this offense maybe wants to be like, at least.
Yeah, no, there's a lot, I think, still to be kind of determined. We learned a new phrase. What was it? Hurry up, no huddle is what the kind of was what we're referring to this as. So what Dillingham has coached previously. You could certainly get he certainly mimicked what he said back in February around signing period about being a fast-paced pro-style offense that gets the ball to playmakers. I think that's kind of the common through line.
Yeah.
They might go under center at some point. That's a really small
breaking news there.
Yeah. Huge breaking news. And for those listening, you can probably guess if you've been a long time follower of Oregon football and media in general, who might have asked that question, because the same person has asked this question every spring and every fall for 2 decades. And I'm sure this person was thrilled to learn that maybe they will actually go under center at some point, which would also break a decade plus, I guess, from a perspective of last time Oregon did that regularly. I think we get kind of an idea of some of what they're trying to do. I think another thing that stood out was just that Dillingham also noted that like some of this is going to be personnel based. He talked about different stops he'd been at and how at one place maybe they threw for 4,000 yards, another maybe they ran for 4,000 yards. Talked about having, someone asked, do you need a dual threat quarterback? And he said, absolutely not. Talked about some places they had guys, again, run for 800 yards, and sometimes it wasn't even close to that. So it's all up for kind of interpretation based upon the personnel. And I think that's good coaching. That's good system building. Obviously, there's kind of base concepts that are in place, but kind of, I guess, what the focal point of the offense will be will change. And I did ask, like, are there any early indications of if this is going to be an offense that, has certain strengths and weaknesses, and he wasn't really ready to assess that. And that was kind of what I expected, considering it's the 5th day of spring. And I think he said the second in pads. So still a lot to learn, but I think, again, we're kind of learning some of at least reiterating, I guess, some of the things we'd already heard.
Yeah, the main topic that he went through was just getting the ball in one-on-one situations. I don't know how many times he said one-on-one during his press conference, but I'd set the over-under at probably like 10.5. It was a lot. And he made it clear that was his emphasis of this offense. He wants to get the football in the hands of his playmakers. Playmakers was another huge key word that he was saying. And that means either, when they have an advantage in the box, he talked about this, where if the best players on the field for him are up front, meaning the offensive line and the running back, they're probably going to run the ball. If he finds that the best players in the best position on the field are outside, I'm probably going to give him a chance to give like a 50-50 ball, a one-on-one opportunity. I think he answered basically every question how you would expect. I think he was short on some of them, which I kind of appreciate, instead of him just going around, for 30 seconds not saying anything but answering a question, I guess. Somebody asked about what do you think is an experienced quarterback, and he just said someone who makes good decisions and scores touchdowns.
Yep.
And that was his answer, and that's honestly all you really want to hear. It was a good interview. This is the first time we've met with him overall, the first time we've met with him in person as well. Has a lot of energy as well. I know that was something that happened in the interview as well. After doing the transcript, which is online at duckterritory.com, thought it was interesting how he mentioned that there could be some type of H-back, a fullback type in his offense, somebody who's 6'1", but he also was very quick to say that it could have been somebody who's 6'6", like a Maliki Matavao, a Terrence Ferguson, or a Spencer Webb, all of which he named, by name. I was doing a quick thing. If you go down the roster, people who are around that 6'1" and kind of a fullback size of human beings.
Oh, here we go.
Number 1 on defense.
Noah Sewell.
Just putting it out there. This has been talked about a lot, where they might not just have running backs in the backfield, and a little tight end, maybe some Noah Sewell action as a fullback. I'd be game.
That would be interesting.
Jared, by the way, it was 9, so the under would hit for the times he said one-on-one. That was the kind
9?
of that was 9 times. Yeah, that's what I got on my search of one-on-ones in your. So you would the under.
Enough.
Pretty close.
One thing I liked real quick before I don't want to spend 20 minutes just talking about Dillingham, but one thing that really stood out to me was he brought up the fact that in past years that they've had quarterbacks who in a 2-year span ran for 400 yards, and then that they've had a year where a quarterback has ran for almost 1,000 yards. And that he's not going to, lock himself into a position where the quarterback has to be a dual threat, a runner and a thrower. He's comfortable with a guy being, a straight old school pocket passer, and he's cool with a guy being more of a runner. And I just like the fact that he's willing to adapt his offense to what the player personnel. That's what you guys brought up at the beginning here. There's definitely a feel of we're not going to push a square peg into a round hole, like we maybe have seen a previous coaching staff try and do.
I think just to kind of continue with Dillingham, but kind of transition to the quarterback stuff. He was asked about what does he want out of the spring in terms of does he want to see separation, and all he wants is improvement and the guys to compete. And I think that kind of was reiterated again by what was said throughout. I think we obviously were able to watch Thursday's practice. They showed 11 on 11 for the first time. Ty Thompson with the 1s, Bo was with the 2s, and Jay was with the 3s. And Kenny was clear to say, like, we're just letting guys. He even said there's not even a 1s and really a 2s, And so these are mixed groups. Day to day, drill to drill. There's certain guys working with certain groups, and I would imagine on Saturday there was a different quarterback working with the 1s, or maybe a different combination of the order of how that plays out. So this is all fluid, and I know I don't think there's the expectation you're going to land on a starting quarterback by April 25th. I don't think you should have that expectation. What Dillingham said and kind of what the quarterbacks reiterated, certainly not the sense that there's a decision that's like oncoming, and I think that's a very good thing. Especially for a competition, which I think truly does feature all 3 guys. And that's at least especially what Dillingham was trying to communicate today, that it's kind of anyone's game. They're all involved in the competition.
Yeah, I think it's also important that they don't set somebody up for the number 1 spot right after spring practice is over. That's a lot of months. That's a lot of time for people to improve, a lot of time for people to regress as well. It was interesting where Dillingham basically admitted that it was kind of like a fixed rotation, where he said that, some guy was practicing with these groups of people, and then the next day they knew that they were going to go practice with another group of people. So it didn't seem like it was yet a hierarchical change, and this guy's playing well, so he's going to play with the 1s and the 2s and the 3s. I'm sure that they have a group that is the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s. I think he's, just trying to not give away information when he says there's no 1s and 2s, but it did seem interesting that not even interesting. I think it's important that they're seemingly giving everybody an actual competition. That has been something in the past where the competition maybe was a competition or maybe it was not. Just reading between the tea leaves in the past couple of seasons, we aren't at practice every day. We don't see all of practice every day. We didn't see it then, so we weren't 100% sure that there was a competition, somebody just straight up won, or there wasn't a competition and it was not handed, but something along those lines. So this is an interesting little dialect that Kenny Dillingham had, talking about his quarterback room and just what he wants to see from them all.
Let's move to quarterbacks. I think let's start. Who are we most anticipated or excited to see talk? Is it Bo Nix, the SEC Freshman of the Year in 2019, 3-year starter in the SEC, or was it Ty Thompson? I I don't know. I spoke with Bo. I peeled off to go to him. Jared got Butterfield. Erik got Ty. Where did you guys land? I don't know who I was more excited to talk to. Part of me says Ty, but part of me also was Bo.
I was happy with where I landed. I was happy talking to Ty and kind of getting caught up there. Bo, obviously, there's a lot of storylines for all three. I think there might be a little bit more with Bo and Ty, in part because I think we're sensing that those two are kind of really the ones jockeying. I don't want to diminish Butterfield at all and say he's not in the competition, but this is sort of what it feels like right now. And I was curious to catch up with Ty, and I think a lot of things stood out. He carries himself really, really well. Bo's obviously more experienced. We have audio and video and transcripts for all of that up on duckterritory.com, so go take a look at that. But Ty really impressed me with how he carried himself and how he answered questions today. Really bright, and I think almost wise beyond his years in terms of kind of how he handled things. I thought how he talked about the addition of Bo Nix and kind of what that relationship is like was really telling. I'm trying to let me see if I have the quote in front of me here. But he said he wasn't the competition doesn't scare him. The addition of Bo Nix doesn't impact him on a day to day. Here's the quote. He says, "It's been a blessing for me having Bo here. I'm very grateful for the things he's done, especially for this team and myself. Everyone likes to pin the quarterbacks against each other, especially if we're competing for the job. But it'll never be that way for me and Bo. He's done a great job of leading the team and coming in and being humble and a hard worker. I have nothing but great things to say about him." That doesn't ring hollow to me, and in part because I've watched them in practice have kind of this relationship where they're sharing information, and it's pretty constant. It's every rep or two they come together and they're pointing at things, and he also touched on that they're seeing if they're seeing the same things that the defense is showing them, or if the throws are where the throw needs to be more accurate. I found Ty just to be really impressive, and he was asked kind of what's the job of the quarterback, and as Jared said, Dillingham gave a very succinct answer. It's protecting the football, making good decisions, throwing touchdowns. For Ty, he just said it's making the right decision. He said it's being right, and that's making the right decisions with the ball. That's putting the ball in the right spot. That's doing everything he can to maximize the offense if he's in charge of it. So, and he said, as you would expect at this point in spring, he's going to work and do his best to win the job. But if he's not the starting quarterback, he's not the starting quarterback, and he has to take on the responsibility as the backup again. So, again, I think go ahead and read the quotes. We're going to have, more content up probably on Sunday. But I just came away pretty impressed with how he carried himself.
Yeah, and I caught Ty. I'll talk about this for just a second before I get to Butterfield. I caught the end of Ty, probably the last minute or two. I came away with the same idea. Very impressed with the way he carries himself. Definitely somebody who probably could control a room at one point during his tenure here at Oregon as a starting quarterback or wherever he is. Certainly doesn't lack confidence, but it doesn't come off as like the cocky, like, I don't know, not like everybody's a fan of that guy quarterback. But I think he did just fine. I think it was a good press conference again for him. For me, I had Jay Butterfield. I was actually excited to talk to him just because I don't remember the last time we talked with Jay Butterfield. It was probably spring camp last year. I don't remember ever getting him during the season.
We had him fall during that media day briefly. But yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, so I was excited to talk to him and just kind of get his perspective on really what's happened to the program in the last 5 months with Mario leaving and Robbie Ashford leaving. He kind of jumped around it, but just mentioned that it's been an interesting ride and a lot of changes overall, but he's just going through with it and trying to make the best out of it. Talked with him about Bo Nix coming into the room as well, and he likened it to last year with Anthony Brown in the room as well. Just another experienced guy who's brings competition. He has a quote where it's like, just trying to do the best we can do, study our butts off in the room so it pays off out there on the field. I think we're all doing a great job and embracing the competition, and we're just keep battling. So kind of it echoes the same sentiments as Thompson. Just the room as a whole seems really tight knit. They all seem to embrace the competition and what's going on there. He had really nice things to say about Dillingham and that super energetic and somebody who's like the youngest offensive coordinator in the country type of deal. I'm not sure if that's 100% true, but I know it has been in the past when he was at Auburn.
Yeah.
But yeah, same idea. He likes what the system brings. He again echoed the same talking points as Dillingham of like trying to create one-on-one matchups and produce 50-50 balls with his wide receivers when he can. Although Jay Butterfield, he kind of said that he doesn't think they're 50-50 balls with the type of talent that they have at wide receivers. They're more like 75-25% balls. So it was good to talk to him and just kind of get where his headspace is at this point, see what he's trying to improve on. And, it's clear that he's embracing this competition and wanting to be that starter just as much as Bo Nix or Ty Thompson is.
Bo echoed those same comments about just the chemistry of the room at quarterback. And he brought up the fact that everyone kind of respects everybody. And then, brought up that competition is a good thing. And it's not about competing against one another. It's about, being the best that they all can be in an individual level to make the overall team as good as they possibly can. I thought it was interesting that a couple times he even referenced, like, if I'm not playing or if I, hopefully I win the starting job. Like, he definitely doesn't approach this, at least from the 10 or 15 minutes we got with him today. I definitely didn't get the feeling like he shows up and is just expecting to win the job, which I know a lot of people, that was probably the first thought from a lot. Is just it's Bo's job, and I don't think he treats it like that, which is, I think, a very good. It's what you want out of competitors, even if Bo is the odds-on favorite to win the job. You don't want him to just assume it's automatically his. He's treating it as if he's got to 100% go out and win it and take it from the other two guys.
Yeah, and based on what Ty said, and I shared that comment earlier about the respect that he has for Bo, it's pretty clear that that's not just Bo saying the right things. Those are actions that have taken place that Ty has also respected and appreciated and understood. And that speaks to the caliber of player. It speaks to the experience and the veteran, nature of it. Because let's be real, if it doesn't work out in 2022 for Ty Thompson, he still has a bunch of years of eligibility at Oregon, at other schools, for not to work out. Bo Nix, if this could be the end of the line for him, theoretically, if he doesn't work out here. He might go pro, he might transfer, he might have to transfer somewhere else. I mean, it's unlikely that if he's not the starter in 2022, he's going to in some way come back to Oregon or maybe even continue playing collegiately. So there's a lot on the line for him. And I think he understands that. It sounds like he's approached everything with the right mentality. There's a lot of talk of kind of leadership at least from what I said, from what some of the other comments were. And, I think he is somebody who is bringing that. And you need that from that veteran presence, because it would be somewhat easy for somebody with his pedigree and his starting experience to show up to a school and to not have that mentality and to split the room or to confuse people, to create some level of divisiveness. And that doesn't feel like at all what's taken place. In fact, I would say, and this is based upon 10 minutes of talking with one player and listening to the audio of the others and what Dan Lanning has said, there does feel like the chemistry is in a better place than maybe I expected it would be this early on in the process of getting this put together. I'll have more stories up on the site. I don't want to go through everything because I want to make sure that the written content is something that you always, the listeners check out as well. But there was several players that maybe, I don't want to say you wouldn't expect that are new leaders that are stepping into these position groups, not just to Bo Nix. And I think that's a really good sign for kind of where this is all headed.
I think it speaks a lot to the type of person that Bo Nix is in order to come in here and kind of not command the quarterback room, but control and at least get everybody to be on the same page. In Kenny Dillingham's, press conference, I guess it was, he talked about how the days of having 4 or 5 good quality quarterbacks on scholarship in your QB room are kind of over with the transfer portal. And, that's kind of the situation that Oregon is in. They have their 3 scholarship guys. But Dillingham said that he's, that they're looking for a certain type of quarterback who's, somebody who's quick to improve, looking to improve, and is, just an overall good individual. And that kind of feels like what they have here with Ty and Bo and Jay. But yeah, like Erik was saying, it could have easily just been an issue of chemistry immediately at the start, like where Ty Thompson could have been offended that the new staff, the staff that didn't even recruit him, brought in a quarterback that they knew, brought in, Kenny Dillingham and Bo Nix's pass at Auburn. He could have been offended. Jay Butterfield could have been the same way, where it's like, well, maybe I'm not second on the totem pole anymore, or maybe I'm third, I'm out, something like that. But it does seem like this group all enjoys being together. They, like Erik was saying, when the two of Ty and Bo have talked on the field and kind of pointed things out, like that's something that didn't always happen last year, but that's something that it's probably a step up from Ty and feeling that he's comfortable on the field and feeling that he belongs there as well, and asking how to stay there, because Bo Nix is a person who was in somewhat similar shoes at Auburn way back when, a 5-star coming in, but was actually thrown into battle to start the season, unlike Ty Thompson was. And Kenny mentioned that too, and kind of, tried to jump around the fact that freshman Bo Nix and Auburn beat Oregon, but I think he did a good job too. But I think that'll be an interesting perspective of those two having kind of similar career paths, at least to start. And I wonder if that'll come up a little bit more with Ty and Bo and their relationship. Just, if we can ask him a couple questions about that and see if that is a side of it all.
Overall, I think it was good. It was a very insightful practice, one in which we learned quite a bit without really watching any practice. And those are always good moments. And I think I'll say this, you guys can tell me if you agree or disagree or not, but I think whoever wins the starting job at quarterback, Oregon's got they've got a room full of level-headed guys that kind of get the pressure that comes with the position. And it doesn't feel like right now that there's really any kind of animosity towards one another. And everyone, it feels like, even though it's a new coaching staff, there's new players involved in the room, that everyone kind of likes everyone. And that's, from covering other teams, that sometimes can be half the battle. When you don't have good team chemistry, you sometimes oftentimes don't see success on the playing field. And at least for now, it feels like the QB room, the health of it from a mental or a personal makeup is really good.
Yeah, I can't really rebut that. And I don't think I would, even if I had, I don't know anything what we heard today was great. I loved what I heard today from basically everyone who spoke. And I think you get a sense, and we'll have a much better idea when we see this actually in motion. But you get a sense from what's been talked about today that there's reason to have optimism about the offense, and I think that's something that has not always been necessarily clear, just because it's pretty easy to point to things on defense of like, okay, so much is back talent-wise. You've got these coaches that are coming in who have won at the highest of level, have won national championships as, defensive coordinators. And this new offense is being led by a 31-year-old who's never really had the keys entirely to the Ferrari, if you will. And we've got questions at quarterback of, okay, well, is Bo Nix is he a retread? Like, is he somebody who's not capable and he's coming out here? Are these young guys really ready? And we don't have total answers to those questions, but everything we saw and heard today, I think makes you feel optimistic about where this is headed. And I'm excited to talk with more of the offensive guys and just get a feel for what kind of enthusiasm exists there, because the scheme that at least is being communicated by Kenny Dillingham is very much a player-friendly scheme. It's about the players, about getting the players in position. And not that the previous staff wasn't, but I do get a sense, like, in theory, what we're hearing, this sounds like a lot more fun to play offensively than what was previously in play. And I know that's not the case for everybody. I'm sure the offensive line loved what they did before. Loved just being the focal point of just, you're going to maul guys and you're going to run the ball 40 times a game. And that might not be quite what they're doing. They're probably going to be doing a different variety of things now. But I'm sure the receivers are probably kind of perked their ears up, and the running backs are kind of like, we're going to be in different spots. And Ty had to catch himself at one point. He was asked about running backs, and he was going to talk about some of the running backs and how they were being used in the passing game. And he goes, I probably shouldn't talk about that. And you just get a sense that there's kind of some exciting things that are on the horizon here.
I mean, I'm all for offensive linemen having fun, but I think scoring 60 points is probably a little bit more fun. Yeah, I mean, Erik, it's good on you to bring out that the offense was clearly the biggest question mark heading into the season. I still think a lot of it is a question mark, but at least with a defensive coordinator at the helm, you kind of have the idea that your defense should probably be the focal point of your team, and you're just probably the better half of the team. But yeah, with Dillingham and the quarterback question marks, is Bo Nix, is he going to be the answer? Is Ty Thompson, can he step up? The lack of receivers on the team. Seeing practice the last couple of days and listening to Kenny and the quarterbacks talk, it seems like that this is a completely different perspective on offense coming in. And I think that's why you've seen a lot of optimism from this group. And it wasn't that last year's spring ball there wasn't optimism or anything like that, or even in fall camp. It just seems a little different in the way that Kenny Dillingham describes his offense. It's how do I put this? It seems better when the offensive coordinator sounds like he's 100% in charge of what's going on, and that his vision is exactly what they anticipate putting on the field, and that it's just him. It's him and his analysts and his wide receiver coach, the offensive line coach. They're all seemingly on the same page here, and the type of offense that is said to be what is expected. Like Erik said, it sounds fun. It sounds like there's going to be potentially for big plays, potential turnovers too, which can be fun, I guess. But not a lot of just lining it up and running it straight up the middle. Different packages. I mean, just speaking about Terrence Ferguson and Maliki Matavao and Spencer Webb in the backfield is something that is kind of cool. I just think it'll be overall a very different vibe. And just to end, I'm very excited to see how it looks in person and on the field for more than just a handful of plays.
Yeah, after today, I'm a lot more excited. I mean, for the spring game, I was already excited for it, but after today, my interest level peaks more. Just good time. I just think overall we learned a lot. There's a lot to be excited for, and maybe we're a little drunk in the Kool-Aid right now, but nonetheless, I think Duck fans can be excited about the offense and the quarterback position in particular. It's going to do it for us here on the Autzen Audibles Podcast. Thank you for listening to the show. We'll be back on Monday with the Monday mailbag, so make sure to send those questions in to Erik or use the hashtag Autzen Audibles, and we'll find them there. Until then, you've been listening to the Autzen Audibles Podcast.
Talk to you later, folks.
Peace.